Hello, hello. Here we are coming to you again from Broadcast Team Alpha and the Paranormal World Show. I, my name is Aage, and I'm the host tonight. And we're going to have some fun. And one of those platforms that we transmit on is the Conscious Awakening Network. Got to go see them because they have about 50 different shows on that platform talking about all the stuff that you and me want to and need to know about. So check them out at consciousawakeningnetwork.org. And if you are watching us on YouTube right now, that's a good place to be because that's the only place I can monitor the chat room. And we can talk, you can ask questions and participate. So, and also, if you like what you hear tonight, please subscribe. It helps us a lot. And it's free. So do it. And also, in the last few weeks here, I have been encouraged to talk more about astral travel. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to, well, this show is totally unscripted. It's unplanned because my regular guest that I was going to have tonight couldn't make it. So then it's up to me to just grab a subject and talk on it for an hour. And I'm going to do that. And it's going to get very interesting because I'm going to talk about astral travel, my experiences, what it is, how it works, how you can do it. And also maybe, should you do it? Because that's an important question in this regard. And yeah, because there's a good chance maybe you shouldn't. Because if you are full of fear right now, if you're afraid of your own shadow, nah, don't go out there and do this. Because that's the kind of energy you draw to you. But then again, knowing what it is, how it works, and what is out there that you could encounter, that is important to know because it could happen to you by accident someday. And if you find yourself in that situation outside of your body, then you can remember this show. So you're going to feel more comfortable. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to try to create a floor of understanding. So you can understand what the universe is, what you are, how we interact with it, and what our capabilities are. Now it's very important. And I'm going to talk about, actually, at the end of the show, I want to do a mind experiment with you. So you can see how it looks like and how it feels when you're outside of the body looking back at yourself. Now that could be an interesting experience, and I think you should hang in there till then, because it's all in our consciousness, and we can direct that consciousness to do pretty much anything we do and want to do, and we can imagine. See, out there, it is a different environment. Unless you understand the environment, that what's out there could be scary to you because you don't walk around anymore. Now you float around. If you are in a house and you feel like you're standing on the floor and you try to walk with moving your feet, all you're going to do is to lift off the floor because of that push, and you just think yourself where you are going. You imagine yourself going into another room, and bingo, you're in that other room. So it is nothing like we have here in the physical. Everything is different because it is on a different frequency and vibration of existence. There are many of those existences. The astral world is above us in vibration. And above there, there's many other levels of existence, that there are people, entities, and things in there that I think you will have had some very interesting times investigating. And I said there are entities and things. Entities we can understand, that could be anything from disembodied entities, or they could be angelic beings, and they could be, well, other souls. But what are things? You don't run into them a lot, but there are things and entities out there that never had a physical body. They don't know what this is. They're curious. They can come and try to communicate with you. They may not look like humanoids at all. They may look like a sphere of light, a sphere of different colors according to their vibration. You can run into that too. And what I have found is that once you get out of the body, you got to remember the saying, we are never alone. That's true. Because we are here in the physical. If we leave the physical, now, if we are never alone, we could run into those entities that is here because we are never alone. And I see them in the house here all the time. In the shadow, I call them shadow people. They're just right off the 90 degrees off I can see them there as a dark shadow. When I look over there, they're gone. These things, they live here too, so I'm okay with that. They don't bother me. Maybe they kind of watch the place with me. That's okay. So the people that you find in the lower astral worlds, once you walk out of your body, are usually the ones that have never been able to find their way home to the higher spiritual vibrations and existence. They are confused, they're scared. Some of them are really angry at religion because they find out that, oh, I've been told lies all my life. Now they know. So when you meet up with some of those, be a little careful because you probably will meet them. Because you don't have to seek them out, they will seek you out. Because they see you and they know that, hey, there's a guy I can get some answers from. So they come and they try to communicate. They don't communicate with words. Words are worthless outside of the physical because there's no air there that can vibrate the voice box. You communicate through mind-to-mind communication, telepathy, mental telepathy. And that mental telepathy it can be in one clump of information that is just entered into your mind at once. And it is very confusing to us because we're not used to thinking that way. but they are, because they can understand that. We're not taught how to think in the concept of everything happens at the same time. We cannot deal with that. We got to stretch it out so we have a past, present, and a future. That way we can understand the flow of information. They don't need that always. But if you tell them, and you can tell them by your mind, break it up, small pictures, and then they can feed you information, they feed you questions. And once you understand it, you can communicate with them. But try not to, I would, in the beginning, don't try to help everybody because they may not want it. Maybe one of the reasons they're hanging around there is because they are so attached to anything in the physical. So they want to be close by, watch their wife and make sure she's okay, or watch their business and make sure that is going all right. And they are so attached to the physical, they cannot leave and go home. Or most of the ones I ran into were atheists, because I find that they have very little spiritual knowledge, if anything at all. And that very little spiritual knowledge is dangerous, because you could get trapped there and you don't know how to go home. Go to the higher vibrations in the angelic realms. Now, there is a way that you can break that cycle if you're caught in it. Someday, the rumor is that we're all going to go through this. Well, you know how rumors are, but there's a good likelihood. Just when you are in a place like that, use the telephone. Yeah, there is a spiritual telephone too. And that works a little different than the one that you got in your pocket. When you're there, picture someone that you really love, you care for, a good friend. In your mind, see them in front of you. And let them know that I am here. Come and get me. If you do, let's say your mom passed over a few years back, think of your mom. Everybody loves their mom. I don't care how many times she spanked you. Everybody loves their mom. So think of your mom and tell her, I am here. Come and get me. If nothing else, it will be very likely that she might get the message. Because remember, out there, it is mind to mind. And when you try to contact your mind, try to contact her mind, it is kind of like making a call. Very likely she will get the call. She will recognize who it is. And she might come and say, hey, son, hey, daughter, you're not supposed to be here. Let's go home. It all depends on where your mom ended up. But at least you will get out of where you are. You will be able to go to a home. So there you will have a re-education process. And you will get there will be a guide with you that will help you to understand the spiritual world and what your choices can be, where you may want to continue to call your home, or maybe there's a different place you can go to. It all depends. on what you and the guides decide. So this is something that, yeah, I know it kind of went off to a little bit beyond the astral travel, but it's part of the floor of understanding of the spiritual arena which you will find yourself in once you engage in astral travel. So deciding to go and start to astral travel, you feel like you want to go and explore, you want to go places and see things and participate in things. And yeah, that's okay, you can, but there are places you really shouldn't try to go, because you leaving the physical, going out into the astral realm, you have a vibration that does not reach above the astral realm while you're there, because you bring your vibration of the physical with you. A very spiritual person, one that understands the spiritual guides, angelic beings and light beings and so on, they don't have to spend much time in the astral world. They go directly to where they belong, which is a much nicer place. And where you go first when you come out is usually in the astral world. And when I'm saying the astral world, that means that vibration next to us. And when we are using the term astral travel, that could mean two different things. It means that your astral body can travel, or it could also mean your consciousness can travel outside of the body with perception and knowledge and all that comes with it. The way we will know about that is that if you're traveling with your astral vehicle, you will find that the astral vehicle is attached to the physical body with a very, when you're really close, it's kind of a thick cord, a rope. When you start traveling, it gets narrower and narrower, and it is very strong. It will not break. And let's say you go 1,000 miles away, so let's say you're in California and visit your aunt in Florida, 3,000 miles away. The astral, the silvery cord will reach that distance, and it will not break. Though there are times if you're trying to go too far and you run out of astral substance in the cord, it will not break, but it will trap you back right back in the body, and you will slam back into your body, and it will wake you up, and you will hurt all over for a while, because that the astral body is actually of a semi-physical substance. I'm not for sure I said that right. It has an affinity to the physical body, because it has actually been proven to have weight. There was a doctor back in 1907 that proved that it was so. And there's a lot of evidence to that astral travel is real. Lots of evidence. The noetic sciences, they did experiments with it. They proved it to be real. They had one person laying on a couch in one room, and they had some other people in another room that were sitting there, and they were writing something on a pad. The one in that on the couch. He left the body, went into the other room, saw what they were writing on the yellow pad, went back to his body, and he came to, and then he walked into the other room and I told them what they had written on the pad. Now, that was with the Noetic Sciences. Also, the Heart Math Institute have done pretty much similar experiments. They did it a lot longer distances, but it still worked. So it helps to understand what we are. The physical body is physical, but it is created by the mind because we live in a mind-created universe. So because we are created by the mind, it has to be thought, mental images, a perception that has taken physical reality. And this is hard to understand, but you can actually create things that seem solid by the power of your mind. I think some of you out there have heard my story about how I explained that elephant. All right, here goes a minute and a half. I'm going to do it again. If I'm a hypnotist, if I can put you in a soft chair and talk to you for about, 5 minutes or so, and I tell you that when I snap my finger and wake you up, you will see an elephant standing next to you in the room. Okay? If I do my job right, I snap my finger, bring you back out, you look over there, and by golly, there is the elephant. You can reach out and touch the snout on him, and it feels solid. It feels rough skin. You can smell him. You can hear him breathing. You see that elephant standing there because you can feel him. He's real to you. But there's a problem. I can't see the elephant because there's no elephant there. So your mind created that elephant. There's experiments that has been done kind of like this in different areas. In fact, there are some experiments that has been done in these kinds of fashions to heal major illnesses. Think on that. It can be done. So now we find that we have created something with our mind that has physical substance to you. Now, everything in the universe is the same way. It is just a little more elaborate program. And everything is also created within your sphere right now by your mind. So let's be a little careful with what we create in our mind. Let's live in the present and the future and let the past go by. We're not going that way. Another thing you will find that there really is no danger out there because there's nothing physical out there that can get hurt. The only slight danger that there might be is mental. If you get out there and run into something that is so foreign to you that it scares, well, I almost said scares the daylight out of you, but that can't happen there. But you get really scared, that could create a mental scar that will prevent you maybe later from leaving the body because the fear will hold you back. So that's why it's good to understand the environment and what you can run into and how to deal with it. So when I said that in the latter part, the last end of the show here, I'm going to tell you how it works and what it is and how you can do it. It is okay to learn how to do it. But don't start running around the universe before you understand the environment and what you can run into, because you could create fear that can block things from happening later. If you are getting successful at this, we should either talk or you should go to Broadcast Team Alpha and scroll down in the shows and watch the videos. There's a few of them on astral travel. Astral travel in Broadcast Team Alpha, look it up. And I know this is hard to believe, but there is this saying out there that, just think about that. For the one who has had the experience, no explanation is needed. For the one who have not had the experience, no explanation is possible, because it is so contrary to what religion and government tell you. But most people are so brainwashed they cannot accept anything this far out. But there are millions of people that have these experiences. They have talked about them, some have never talked about them, but they are just as real. So when you wonder what's out there, there really is nothing to be afraid of once you understand it. And also, where can you go? What can you do? What should you do? What shouldn't you do? Now that will become relevant once you are out of the body. And if you travel in the astral vehicle, you look down and you see the cord attached. If you see the cord, you know you're in the astral vehicle. It is unlikely in that state that you'll be able to go to Pluto, which is no longer a planet, but it's still there, and have a look at it, because it's too far. You run out of substance, astral substance, and you slam back in your body. But if you are out there, you see no cord. There is no limitation to where you can go. Think about that. Are there places that is so far away that you cannot even imagine, but you would like to go and have a look? Yeah. So let's say that you get out of the body. Let me take an example. Let's say that you're interested in UFOs and extraterrestrials. I'm going to tell you a story. That's my story. Let's say you wanted to find a spaceship. You wanted to get on the spaceship. This is one of my experiences. I left the body. I left going to a high place in kind of low orbit. I could see the Earth below me. And I concentrated on a disc, a large disc full of extraterrestrial beings. And of course, this is something that we got to plan out before we leave the body. We want to tell ourselves what we are going to do, where we are going to do it, and then go do it. Because the astral vehicle has no intelligence of its own. It only works from memory. So it will remember the direction that you gave it before you left the body. And that is what it will do. So when I came, I was drawn towards this ship, and I got up close to it. I stopped outside, and I was kind of hanging around there for a little bit. And then I went through the wall. The ship was physical. I went through the wall to the inside. And the first room I got into was empty. And then I remember settling on the floor. But you can't really walk anymore. You kind of think yourself floating through the air. So I started going down corridors, and I saw people that looked just like me. They were different clothing than we do, but they were just like me. And I was going down, there was a long curved corridor, and I looked into different rooms. Some of them did not have doors on it, or maybe they did have doors, but they just folded into the wall or something. I'm not sure. But there were people in there. Some of them saw me because I made eye contact with several of them. But they totally ignored me. They looked at me for a little bit, and then they went back to what they were doing. And I was floating through, and I started to feel like maybe I wasn't welcome, because I had not asked permission to be there. I just float through the wall. So now I was there. I was aware that they saw me. They were aware that I was there. And I kind of felt like it was not totally right, like I was maybe a little bit of an intruder. So I went again through the wall. I went out, and I went back home. And that was one experience. Now, there was another one where I also found the ship, and me being a pilot, I wanted to have a look at the cockpit of those things. And that was another time I asked before. I found the ship, went up to it, stopped outside, and I asked, "Can I come in?" And I had no special, "Yes, you can," or anything like that, but it was a good feeling. So I went through the wall, and I knew where I was going. In my mind, I didn't know where it was in the ship, but I was drawn to the cockpit, or I'm calling it the cockpit. It was just on the lower floor. Underneath, there was a kind of like a bubble come out underneath, and that's where there were, I think, 2 or 3 people down there. One of them was sitting with his hands on the table. It looked like a panel because there was activity going on. And there were things in the air in front of him. It looked like strings going in different directions, and almost like maybe a star chart or something like that. And then it was obvious to me that his mind was in and part of the ship, because it felt like his mind was flying the ship. There were I think there were 2 other people there, 2 or 3. And they were doing other things, but I wasn't really looking at them so much. I was looking at the one with his hands on the table. Well, it wasn't kind of like more like a desk than a table, because there was just one side to it, and then it went up like this, where everything was pictured like a hologram in the air in front of him. And I looked at that, and it felt like once I had seen that, my mission was over. So I know I stood there for quite a while, or just hung around there for quite a while. And then I remember thanking them, and I left. Those also, they knew I was there. So these entities, these extraterrestrials, they have a higher sense of consciousness beyond the physical. They know when someone is there. Let me tell you another story. And that was one of the things. I was trying to go somewhere where I should not be. And that was the White House in Washington. I didn't have any special mission of going there. I just thought it was kind of a nice place to visit and see. I'd never been there, so I didn't know what it really looked like inside. So I was heading there, and I was getting really close, very close to the actual building. And there were two entities, two guys that came out of the building or from somewhere in the vicinity, because they showed up in front of me, and they told me very clearly, don't come here. And it was so clear to me that I probably should not go, because they would get very upset. So I turned around and left. And I thought about it afterwards, and it kind of makes sense, because if somebody in the astral realm could go to the White House, get into meetings, nobody could see them. They could be excellent spies. And that's probably what they thought I could be. So they stopped me. And I'm good with that. I think they should stop everybody from getting in there like this, because you never know who they would be. Now, there is one more story that I want to tell you. And this is to the credit of the people that lately have encouraged me to talk more about these things. Yes, you can go to the moon. You can have a look. But the moon is populated. There is probably at least 2 million people just on the surface, mostly on the back. There is, of course, I got out of the body. I headed there, and it was very quick to get there. It didn't take long. It was just moments. And I knew where I wanted to go. And I knew what I wanted to see. What I wanted to see is a building that the Nazi Germans found when they first time or the second time when they flew the Hornebu 2 from Earth to the moon in right about 1942, 43, something like that. They flew around and mapped it, and they found this building on the ground that looks like a large swastika. Each leg of it is over a mile long and many stories high. built of stone. And it is very old because it was dilapidated. It was fallen down in places from big meteorites hitting it over the millennia or the millions of years. So it was damaged quite a bit. But of course, the Germans, they fell in love with that thing. So they took pictures and they came back and they told the commanders that we found this place. And they showed the pictures. And from there on, they start going back to that place, rebuilding a part of it so they could have a base there. And that's where they are, at least one of their bases are today. And I wanted to go to that place and have a look. If you get a map of the moon, find the Schrödinger crater, Schrodingeer crater. I believe it is in the, God, it's hard to say what is east and west up there, but it is towards one side of the big crater. Actually, not too far from a smaller crater that is, which is next to it. And when I got there, it felt, you know, in the astral vehicle, you don't feel temperature because that's all physical. But it felt cold around there. I got up close and there were places where I could get in, I didn't have to go through the side. There were openings where I could get inside of it because there's an atmosphere on the moon. It's just similar to about 18,000 feet here on Earth. That'll come out soon when NASA is not able to lie anymore. And I got inside. I saw people in uniforms. There are many different uniforms. It appeared to me that some were Air Force uniforms as well as Nazi uniforms and other uniforms from what we would consider being extraterrestrial uniforms. And one of them, I don't know about all of them, but one of them saw me. And he came very fast towards me. And it became very clear to me that this was dangerous. And I was puzzled about that. Like, it felt danger. Even though there is nothing physical that can get hurt, I left very quickly. And I went back and came back where I started. But for those of you that have a little more courage than me and want to experiment and take risks, now that would be an interesting place to go. Same as the Cydonia area on Mars. There are people there still underground. That's for another day. But I also have gone back to the farm back in Norway and kind of float around and look a little bit, but it feels strange anymore. It does not feel like it was mine. It is all built up. There's only one building left that I had that they kept, and that's it. All the rest of it was new. And the owner that I sold the farm to, he now is a big pig farmer. And I remember drifting through one, he's got several buildings where they raise pigs. And I remember drifting through there. And there was phenomenal sadness when I went through that building, saw all the pigs in their little bins. It felt like they knew they were here for a little while and would get killed. They knew they were going to get killed. I think that's also where the sadness came. So I left there, and that actually is the last time I've gone there. I haven't gone back since then because there is nothing there that draws me back anymore. And that's, of course, this is not just him. There's a lot of pig farms out there, and this is what people do. I don't think there are many vegetarians in Norway. I know two, that's about it. But these are some of the experiences that you can have once you understand what you are no longer physical. And then understand the environment. You are in the astral world, which is kind of a garbage dump of a spiritual arena. And then, you can travel the distance. In the astral vehicle, you have a little bit of a limitation to the distance. If you travel by consciousness only, there is no limitation. You could go to another galaxy. And all you have to do is to think yourself back home, and you will be home. Because that's the safety valve in the universe. You will always make it home. There is that safety valve. So there is quite a few other stories, but I think I'm pretty much running out of time here for what I had allocated for this. So think about it. Go to Broadcast Team Alpha, scroll down into the on YouTube is the best place to do it because you can go into the not the live section, but the video section, and go down there and then find anything that says astral travel on it. Watch it because there are more stories and there's more explanation of what the environment is like and what to expect. Because you really need to know that. And another thing that I would say is really good is that first time you go out, find a friend before you go out and meet up with that friend, and you can go together. You will gain from the other more experienced friend. You will gain experience because out there you can share minds and you can share pictures and whatever. Imagine that you can learn from him. You can go together, different places, see things, and come on back. Now that's the place to do. That's the one to do. I had a good teacher, probably about, I don't know, 40 years ago. And he told me about the environment and everything that I needed to know. You got to find someone. Don't read a book and do it. Because you need someone that has had the experience and can teach you from experience. Well, that's the best way to do it. You can go out there and do all the mistakes yourself, and you'll have a heck of an experience to tell someone else. Anyway, have fun with this. because it really can be fun. It is a whole new world opening up to you, and literally it is. And it's really simple to learn. Here's how you can do it. Go and lay down on the bed and totally relax. And you may have to practice this for a while. I had to, gosh, I had to do it every night for, I don't know, at least a month and a half, I think, before I was able to get out. And even today, there are days when I try and I can't get out. It doesn't work for me every time. I have to have I believe anyway, that I have to be up. I have to have a very positive, good outlook in my mind at the time I go try it. Darth Vader doesn't live in here, so I think that is part of it. But relax and tell yourself, I will raise up, turn around, and look at myself in the bed. So then visualize yourself rolling out of bed, sitting on the bed, raising up, turning around, and look at yourself in the bed. This is what, practice this for a while. And then let's do that mind experiment. Right now, if you're driving a car, flying airplanes, or doing anything that takes attention to something specific that you're doing, turn the radio off and don't do it now. Watch the recording another time when you are in a safe place. See yourself sitting where you are right now. See yourself sitting in a chair. You know what you look like. You know what the hair is. You know what clothes you have. You know if you got your sleeves rolled up. You know what you look like right now. Concentrate a little bit on what you look like so you get a real good picture in your mind about it. And close your eyes. In your mind's eye, raise up out of your body and take 3 steps forward. Then turn around. And look at yourself sitting in that chair. See your hair, your shirt, what you look like. Visualize yourself. See yourself as you would be out of your body, looking back at your physical body in that chair. And then turn around, facing away from yourself as you were. Back up 3 steps and sit down into yourself. Then you are home in the physical body. If this resonates better with you, than rolling out of bed, you can try this also. I think, though, that from what I hear is that people have the best experience and the fastest results laying in the bed, rolling out, standing up, turning around, and looking at themselves in the bed. It's a good way to do it. There are other ways. There are people saying they're laying in the bed and see a rope hanging down, so they crawl up this rope, and all kinds of goofy things that people do. And it works, but try this first. But don't give up. Do you know how successful the one is who gives up? Nothing. Big O, zero. If you decide that this is what you want to do, start practicing and don't quit. Because if you don't quit, you will succeed. It could take you a month, 2 months. Probably, I think it probably was close to 2 months for me to get out. I did it every night. So I wanted it really bad. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. It was unplanned, unscripted, and it just happened because my guest didn't show up. So here we are, and I hope you enjoyed it. So if you like what you heard, please subscribe. It'll help us a lot. So until then, next time, be good to each other.